This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm joined by welterweight world champion Carl Frampton. Carl, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, mate.
Good to hear. Now, obviously, you yourself, like the rest of us, is currently in lockdown, but away from that, you've kind of become a bit of an overnight sensation on Boxing Social. You've gone viral. How have you found your newfound fame?
This is mental. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. But so obviously the video we were talking about is where I went in naked, and it went from 50,000 views to well over 1 million now inside a month. So, and a lot of the demographic, because I was speaking to Rob, and a lot of the demographic seemed to be in Asia. So I don't know what's going on, but you can't see anything. I went in behind the towel in the nude. You can almost see the towel is in position very well, but I'm covering myself with my own hands. So I don't know why it's doing the numbers. I really don't.
Well, Carl, you know, for us, numbers are numbers. So when boxing returns, if you happen to miss weight again, I'm sure Rob wouldn't complain.
He said it's the biggest hits you've got on anything you've done.
He has now.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's taken over. The one before that was on, I think it was 1.1 million, and now you've taken over. You've got a newfound stardom, Carl, one which I'm sure you never anticipated.
I'm delighted with myself.
Obviously, as I mentioned, you know, you yourself are in lockdown like the rest of us. How is life over in Belfast in Northern Ireland?
It's okay. Obviously, where we are as well. Like, I just live outside Belfast, so Belfast isn't the most populated, dense city either. The numbers of coronavirus victims here are a lot lower than the rest of the UK, and a lot lower than the rest of Ireland as well. So we seem to be doing okay in Belfast. Obviously, there has been tragedies and stuff, but I think that the total number of deaths now in Northern Ireland at this point are, I say only around 200, which is still 200 people that have passed away and 200 families and stuff. But in terms of the rest of the UK and the rest of the world, really, we seem to be doing okay.
How are you finding kind of trying to keep in shape and ticking over as best and as much as what you can away from a gym lifestyle?
It hasn't been easy. The thing is, the lucky thing for me, I've got a gym in my garage, so, and it's okay. It's a garage gym. I've got a bag and treadmill, and I've got a squat rack, and I've got plenty of equipment to use. But I'm just taking over. That's all I'm doing. I'm training Monday to Friday once a day, and I'm having the weekend off. And just trying to chill out. I tried yesterday to do a half marathon, and I did, but I was done. The furthest I've ever ran in my life. 10K is probably about my limit, and I've known this like for a number of years now. The way when I run, like, you know, my flexibility isn't great, and that's not a new thing. It's always been like that. But after about 10K, I started to get sore hips and knees and ankles and everything. But I just decided I would try and do double that, and I've done just over 20K yesterday, and I'm feeling it a bit today.
Certainly sounds like you've missed a masseuse or something to help you unwind.
Well, absolutely, I did buy a massage gun for myself, which is a brilliant piece of kit, but the missus has been using it more than me.
I think one thing for you yourself.
Just
I think one thing for you yourself, Carl, and you've always mentioned it to me in interviews when I've asked you, or so other people in interviews. I know how important your family is to you. I know how big a family man you are, and you've mentioned you've missed birthdays, you've missed occasions with your family because of fights, being away from home. For you yourself, are you finding it a bit easier being at home now, being able to spend this extra time with your family that you may not have had if you was preparing for camp?
No, absolutely. Look, it's I think that's probably the main thing that I've been doing. Like, just it's been obviously it hasn't been easy this for anyone, but it has been nice just to be able to have a lot more time at home with the kids. And although we're not doing a lot because restrictions are in place and they don't really allow us to do much apart from going our daily walk, it's been nice to be home and just be with the kids. I think they are getting the kids are starting to feel it a little bit more than me. I think Christine's feeling it a bit more than me as well. And people react to it differently. But suppose I'm used to kind of semi-isolation, being in camp and being away on my own as well. But yeah, people are starting to struggle a bit.
How are you finding homeschooling your children? You've gone from boxer to overnight sensation on YouTube, and now you're a teacher.
Um, it's going okay. To be honest, I'm just kind of helping out. Christine has got it running like clockwork. Christine's a very clever girl, and she could easily do this on her own and handle the two kids by herself. I couldn't. I wouldn't know where to start. But she's got little timetables rolled up, and the school have been very helpful. And the kids, my daughter wants to do it. Like she's 9, she loves doing her schoolwork, and she actually enjoys it. The little boy, I have to take a wee bit of persuasion to get him into the classroom that we have at the front of the house. So no, she's been brilliant, and I just kind of muck in and help out a wee bit when I can.
Obviously, just to move back to the boxing talk and onto yourself, I spoke to Jamie Moore a couple of times since lockdowns began, and he said that the Heron fight was all agreed. It was ready to be announced until obviously isolation and what have you. What was your understanding of the entire situation? Just break it all down for me.
Yeah, the fight was pretty much agreed. Jamel Herring seems very keen. I spoke to him the other night with Christina Poncher. Me and Jamel on the same call. He seems very, very keen for the fight. I obviously am still very keen, but it was pretty much agreed and it was going to happen. Obviously, with this pandemic that has really affected the whole world, it's kind of had to be put in a back burner. But I think once we come out the other side of this, whenever that may be, I think that the fight will happen.
I mean, where did you stand with the contracts? Were the contracts signed, or was it just finalising?
No, they weren't signed. They weren't completely signed, but pretty much all agreed. And it was just a matter of getting them signed and tying up a few loose ends, really. But yeah, the fight was pretty much done.
I also suppose Jamie mentioned that he wanted it over in Ireland. Was that where it would have taken place?
Yeah, so I think that my first preference was Windsor Park. That's where I wanted to fight. Obviously, you can only fight outdoors in this part of the world at a certain time of the year. So if the lockdown extends any further and kind of if the fight doesn't happen before the beginning of September, I think Windsor's ruled out because you can't take the risk to go outside. And in that case, if we can't do Windsor, I think preferably, there's been talk of Madison Square Gardens. I would even prefer Madison Square Gardens over the Odyssey. I think Jamel Herring as the champion, he liked the idea of fighting in a stadium fight, and he sees the atmospheres that can be created in the UK. And he wanted to be a part of that. But just another fight in another arena for him as the champion, it doesn't really make sense for him to travel. And if we can do it in Madison Square Gardens and top the bill there, then I think that would probably be a dream for both of us, really. So that's probably, if Windsor's ruled out, Madison Square Gardens would be my number one preference.
I mean, how far into camp or into training could you have gone, or did you go into in preparations for the Heron fight?
I wasn't really in camp yet because I was just taking over. I was planning. I actually phoned and took a wee bit of advice of a doctor. I know Dr. Martin Duffy, who's head of an intensive care unit in Belfast, and he's with the British Boxing Board of Control. And just when this was all getting a little bit ropey, I was meant to start camp, and I asked him, should I fly and start camp? And his advice was no, because if I get over there, flights were starting to be cancelled and stuff. I may not be able to get back home. And it was pretty sound advice from him. So I hadn't started camp yet, but because I've been taken over, I like a 12-week camp normally, but because I have been taken over, I'd say I could knock a few weeks off that, maybe do 10 weeks, possibly 8 weeks, possibly, from this all ends until a fight can happen.
What do you make of Herring as a fighter? You know, a lot of people have seen when you was both together, excuse me, trying to make a natural, you know, looking at it, seeing a natural size difference. You was with him when you've been with him. Have you seen a natural size difference? Have you looked at everything?
Yeah, he's a bigger guy. He's a bigger guy. He's a lot bigger than me. But I think the pictures on the Top Rank show that we were both after my last fight. I think they probably exaggerate the size difference a little bit. He is a big lump. I think he's probably similar sort of features to and similar dimensions to the kid that I fought, Taylor McCreary. So he's that sort of. He's a much better fighter than Taylor McCreary. No disrespect to McCreary, but he's probably similar sort of stature to him.
So what kind of do you expect, provided before it does go ahead, what are you expecting from Jamel in the future?
I think that mentally he's very, very strong. You can tell that, and he's had tragedy in his life. His young daughter has died, and he's been on 2 tours of Iraq and stuff as a US Marine. I think mentally he's a very strong person to come back from all that and to become a world champion. I think that obviously his height brings its own problems. He's a southpaw as well. He's a very good all-round fighter. I think that I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect fighter, and I think he can be beat. And it's up to me to find a way to do that. Me and my team with Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis as well. And I think there is ways to beat him. And I think that although he's got the size in the fight, one of my key attributes is distance control. People think that I just have to go pulling into Jamel Herring because of my stature and fight him on the inside, but I don't think so. I think there's times when that may happen, but I think that one of my key strengths is my distance control and my feet work, and I get them going properly. And I think that if I use them properly, I can even outbox someone of Jamel Herring's size.